I'm going to show you how to do an open shell stitch. Now for this you'll need a length of chain first, and just to explain how many chain you will need, I've drawn a little diagram here. I'm sorry this is a bit wobbly, I'm holding this by hand while I point it out to you, because if you understand how it works then it's easier for you to remember. Here's your length of chain. That's your first chain at that end. All these long lines represent treble stitches, that one there, and these ones fanned out. They represent treble stitches, or if you're American you'll call that a double crochet. So you start off by doing a length of chain, then you do a turning chain, then 5 treble, 1 treble, 5 treble, 1 treble, 5 treble, 1 treble, and then 3 chain to turn, and then 2 treble there to make 3 because you count that as one of your stitches, then 1, 5, 1, 5, 1, and then 3 at the end, and then 3 for your turning chain to start your next row. But just to explain how to work out how many chain you need, for each single treble and 5 treble obviously you'll need 6 chain, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 to there. Because you've done 5 treble there, and you do it in the centre of those 5 chain, and you work into 1 chain there, you do all 5 into that 1 chain, and then miss 2 there and miss 2 there, so that makes 5 to go with those 5 treble there. So you do your chain all the way along. And just to work out how many you need 6 for each treble, plus your 5 treble there for the shell. So that's 6 to that one, 6 to that one, and then 6 to that one there. So that's a multiple of 6. Then you'll need 3 chain for your turning chain, and then 1 for your last stitch. So those 3 are your turning chain. That would be normally where you'd work your single treble into that last stitch there, that last chain there. But we're counting the turning chain as a stitch, so we don't work a treble into that. There's the treble for that chain. So it's 6, 6, 6, and then another 1 for your last treble. But instead of doing a treble we've done 3 more stitches there. So if it's 6 to there, and then another 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if you were going to do this even longer, you just keep adding 6s, wouldn't you? So what you will need is a multiple of 6 chain plus 4. Easy as that, and I'll show you how to do it. So if you want to do a little piece that's only that wide with 3 shells, you're going to need 6 for each shell, so that's 3 6s, which is 18, plus 4, which is 22. So you need to do 22 chain, and then you're going to do your first treble into this chain. So you need to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you'll do your first shell into the 7th chain from your hook. So here we go. I've got my old jumper here over my steering wheel for a backdrop, and I've got my 18 chain done. Sorry, 22 chain done there. And as we said, we're going to do a treble, or if you're American, a double crochet into the 7th chain from the hook. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, Don't forget always when you're crocheting, unless you're told otherwise in a pattern or a pattern stitch, 2 threads above, 1 thread underneath. We're going to do 5 trebles into the same chain. 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4. This is how I count in my head when I'm crocheting. Daft, isn't it? And 5, 5, 5, 5. I'm going to miss 2 and do 1 treble into the next stitch. Now don't forget that because you've put 5 treble into that one stitch, it stretched it and made it a bit bigger, which means that the next stitch will be tightened up, and you can't always see it, but it's gone quite small there. Don't forget to count that. 1, 2, and then into the next one, do a treble. Refer back in the video to the diagram if you're not sure what I'm doing there. Miss 2 again, into the third one. I'm going to do 5 treble into there. 1, 2, 2, 2, 3. Let's get a bit more wool, acrylic off the ball. So that's 3, 4, 4. Oops, I'm not doing very well, am I? 5, there we go. Missed 2, 1, 2 into the third. No, what am I doing, stupid woman? Just 1 there. Not concentrating. I've had a hard day at work. Just a couple of hours to go after me break now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Missed 2, and then 1 treble into the last chain. Okay, it doesn't look much like a shell stitch yet. It looks a little bit, but it's only the first row. First row is always more difficult. We're going to do 3 chain to turn, and we start the next row with half a shell. And for that we do 3 trebles for half a shell. We've done 1 because that 3 chain counts as 1, so we need to do 2 more into the first stitch. Alright, and then 1 treble into the middle of those 5. So miss 2 into the middle treble. We're just going to do 1. Get a nice open lacy shell stitch for this pattern. And again 5 into the next single treble. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1 in the middle of those 5, five into the single treble, don't forget, if you're American, you would call this a double crochet. That's 4, there's the 5th one. Single one into the middle of that shell, and then at the end another half of a shell. As you notice when you're doing crochet, on the row you've just done, there's the stem of the stitch. The part that you work into, the stitch at the top, is always to the right of the stem. On the row below, it's to the left. So there's the stem of the one we just worked into, there's the stitch, there's the stem of the one we're going to miss, there's the stem of the one we're going to miss just to the left of that one. So we don't work into that, we work into the top of the turning chain. Let's get my hook back in. There's the last stitch of the shell in the row below. There's the top chain of the turning chain, and you need to work 3 trebles into there for your last half of a shell at the end of that row. And again, 3 chain to turn. 1, 2, 3, turn it round. Now that's counted as 1 treble, and we start off with 1 treble at the beginning of this row. So we've already done the treble, so we don't work into that stitch. We just go straight to the single treble and work 5 treble into it. 1, 2, 3, got a bit of a tangle there, I'll sort that out in a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and as before, 1 single treble into the top of that shell. 5 treble into the single treble. One treble into the middle. And you just carry on doing these 2 rows, the second and the third row, over and over. Keep repeating them to make your fabric. 5 into that single treble. That's 3. Four. And end with a single treble in the top of the turning chain. So there's 1 stitch, there's the next stitch, there's the top chain of your turning chain. Just do 1 treble into there. Okay, carry on doing that. So of course the next row you'll start with half a shell as before. You've already done 1, so you just do 2 more. As you can see, you can start to see the pattern there. Another variation of this open shell stitch is not to do 5. Instead of doing 5 shell, miss out the middle one and do a chain stitch instead. And then instead of working your single treble into the center of those 5 trebles, you can work it into the chain space. I'll show you what I mean. So we do your, instead of doing 5 treble into there, do 2, 1 chain and 2 more. So you get that little space, and do that all the way along. And then when you come to do your next row, do your half a shell as before. We'll do 3 there, 3 treble, sorry, with the turning chain counting as the first one. And then do your single treble into the chain space. Then your 2 treble, one chain, 2 treble, and again your single treble goes into the chain space. And you get a much more open pattern for that. A little bit more lacy than when you do 5. There's where you do 5, there's where you do 4 with a chain space. Now you don't always have to alternate for this stitch pattern. As you can see so far, I showed you 2 variations where there's 5 stitches and one where you do 2 lots of 2 stitches with a chain space and then work into the chain space. And as you can see, we've alternated. Wherever there's a shell, we've done a single stitch into it. Wherever there's a single stitch, we've done a shell into it. But you don't have to do that. You can have all your single stitches together and all your shells together. So normally on this next row, if I was alternating, I'd do half a shell at that end and then work a single crochet into there and then a full shell. But instead we won't do the half a shell. We'll do exactly the same as the next row and start with a single stitch, one single treble or double crochet if you're American. So that first 3 chain there counts as 1 stitch, so we don't need to work that stitch, it's already done. And instead of doing a single treble into the chain space as we did on the last few rows, we do 5 stitches, 4 trebles with a chain space in the middle, so that's 2 trebles, chain space, 1 chain and 2 more trebles into that chain space on the previous row. That's 2. Okay, so there's your first 3 chain, which counts as a treble, then 2 treble, 1 chain, 2 treble, and then a single crochet into the single crochet on the previous row. Single, I'm going bananas, treble crochet into the treble crochet of the previous row. And again, oops, hang on, just getting some more yarn off the ball. 2 treble, 1 chain, 2 treble. Of course you can do this as well if you're doing, when you get to the end you do a single treble into the top of the turning chain of the last row. 3 chain to turn, 1, 2, 3. So I just get some more yarn off again, and 5 into there, so that's 2 treble, 1 chain, 2 treble, or 5 treble, depending how you're doing the stitch. If you're doing 5 treble, of course you wouldn't have a chain space to work into. You'd actually work into the top of the middle stitch. One treble into that single treble there. Five into the chain space of that bunch of trebles. So that's 2, 1 chain, and 2 more, making 5. And this is the pattern that you get. It's another version of open shell stitch. There's the 3 examples. One where we do the 5 and then work into the middle of that 5. Another one where we do it more open, still alternating. Do the single treble into the chain space and then the 4 treble with the chain space in between, and we do that little group into the single treble, alternating like that. See, alternating. Or you can do all the rows the same and have the single trebles all on top of each other and the shells all on top of each other like that. That's probably the easiest one to do actually, and it's more lacy looking and a little bit prettier, I think.